All right, and welcome to another video. For those of you who are new here, my name is Des Trindle. I'm a 57-year-old triathlete based in the suburb of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, juggling the commitment of training for Ironman Australia in June with work and family and everything else that life throws at us. So today's video, as you saw from the thumbnail that you clicked on to get here, is a little bit of a race review of a race that was held over the weekend that I competed in at Raby Bay in the southern suburb of Brisbane. So it was actually race 6 in a 7-race series that's run as the Queensland Triathlon series, and it was held over a distance of a 900-metre swim, 24k bike and 3k run. So the swim was simply started off in the marina, which is a beautiful spot with some absolutely incredible boats, straight out to one of the far channels, around a marker buoy, turn left, and then back straight up the channel to the swim. The bike, it's a bit more of a challenging bike course. It's a 5-lap course, which includes they're not big climbs, but they're 2 little effort climbs in each lap. So you end up getting 10 little efforts during the whole 24k, which can spike the heart rate if you're not careful with them. And the run is a deadpan flat run over a 1k out, 1k back surface, which gives us the 3 laps on the run and then down into the finish chute. So great little course. It's been run for quite a few years now. I remember doing this race probably 10 or 15 years ago, and it sort of hasn't changed in the race format itself. So let's talk about how my race went. So with the swim itself, it was an all-male swim start. So the numbers were a little bit down in this particular race, where we normally have an age group, say maybe 40 plus start. This was all male. So on the weekends there was a Raby Island race on, and there was also a Run Army run on in Brisbane. So everyone was sort of spread out between the different events. So saying that, it's probably 40 to 60 people, maybe a little bit more in the all-male group, because it did include the team swimmers, I believe, as well. So we start in a direct line across from the pontoon on the marina and one of the boats on the other side. I position myself sort of in the centre at the front, and knowing that there'd be probably 1 or 2 people that swam around me, and they did that, and that would give me the faster guy's feet to dive on. And I'm very conscious that these days I'm not particularly quick over the first 100 or 200 metres, but I hold that pace continually out through the swim. So, and that's exactly what happened in this particular swim. So we started off, there was a group on the right hand side of me closer to the boats themselves that went out, and there's probably 10 or 12 guys in that group, and they went out fairly hard. There was 1 or 2 that were in the centre with me, that one stayed on my left side, the other went in front of me, and I ended up diving on his particular feet. And he followed through and joined to the tail end of that little front pack that formed. And for the rest of the swim, we basically just sat on each other's feet. There wasn't a lot of argy-bargy stuff, which was really good. Everyone was a little bit respectful of the distances. And for me as well, the last few swims, I've had a little bit of an issue with 200-300 metres in, I get a little bit of a panic attack, and I've had to really concentrate on relaxing so I didn't throw myself into a hole, because my breathing was starting to be affected by that. This particular swim, that didn't happen, so that was really encouraging as well. So I managed to stay very relaxed, very controlled, and looking at my heart rate data after the swim, it was a very comfortable, easy swim, and I left some matches for the other end, which I knew I'd need later in the run. So out of the swim itself, once we come back down, you climb up a little ramp into the transition. I'd done the right thing prior to the race. When I racked my bike, I walked through and just got some sighting points. So I sighted myself, so there was 2 palm trees, and I knew I was in the centre of that as I ran down the rack and looked. So straight away, easy when your bike's there, found my bike, helmet on and out of transition. So the bike itself, it's as I said earlier, a 5-lap bike course with 2 little climbs in it. So one, you sort of climb up and then you descend down, you do a U-turn, you climb up and you descend down. So, and you do that 5 times. So you've got to be a little bit conscious as well as not going into the red zones on those little climbs. And they're not big climbs, but they are enough to, they can spike your heart rate there. So just be conscious of that. Being, I guess, a little down on numbers, I did this race back before Christmas and it was very, very crowded. It didn't feel that way this time, and there was only one incident where when I was coming back through one of the roundabouts, there's a few people on the inside going a bit slower and you're trying to hold your speed and your line, and I ended up riding myself into a bit of a deeper pothole that I hadn't noticed on the other 4 laps that I'd been through there, so my fault on that one. But it did result in my aero bars and base bar literally jolting down. It was a fairly violent hit, about 6 centimeters. So very lucky I didn't snap them, and very lucky I was able to continue. And also very lucky, I guess, that I didn't puncture the front tire because it hit very, very hard. So, but that really didn't affect me. I was able to finish that lap. There was only probably another 5 or 6, oh, not even that, probably about 3K to go in the lap. And the aero bars were still solid enough to be able to rest on them, and even though they were down a little bit. So, okay, so back into down the hill again, back into the transition 2. So here, even though I've been doing this sport for a long, long time, is where I made a mistake that I've made twice now this year in about 7 or 8 races that I've done. So I came into T2 perfectly off the bike, ran around, thought I'd sighted what was my towel and shoes and got a bit hyper focused on the shoes and didn't really pay too much attention to the towel. And my wife's now decided to buy me a very bright towel because this happened last time as well. So racked my bike, took my helmet off, looked down and realised that my towel and my shoes were actually 15 spots further down that I'd already run past, and this was someone else's gear. So picked up the bike, shuffled down looking a little embarrassed to where my actual gear was, and racked the bike. So in that, while I was doing that in the process, I noticed that one of the guys came through that I suspected was in my age group, and it was really unsure to tell where we were in the group, but I sort of figured I had a pretty good swim and a pretty consistent bike, and I was probably at the front end somewhere. So being that we all started together, you always want to sort of try to hold your position or improve your position as much as possible. So I sat down, saw him running out, got my shoes on, picked up my gear, and off I went in chase. So exited T2 quite comfortably, looked, and he was about 100, 120 metres up the road, which is good because now I've got a little bit of a carrot to chase. So the run course itself is a 3-lap course, so it's literally 1 kilometre out, turn around 1 kilometre back with, you know, a little left-hand turn down Masthead Drive in the middle. And off I went, got really comfortably into a rhythm for the first kilometre. Didn't want to go out too hard, very conscious that I wanted to come home a little harder than I went out. So could see that I was slowly pulling back the gentleman. I was unsure whether he was an age group down or whether he was my actual age group. So, but it was always good to have a little bit of someone in front to focus on. Off I went. First, very comfortable first kilometre, very comfortable second kilometre. I could see that I was holding that sort of pace that I wanted to hold. Third K, I could see old mate up ahead of me starting to fade a little bit, so I was bringing him back, and by the time I'd run out through the 3rd lap to the turnaround where we literally only had 1 kilometre to go, I'd passed him and probably put 50 metres, what I thought was 50 metres into him. But saying that, as we turned with a K to go, old mate was there again, so he'd recovered from his little flat spot and around he went, and put about 20 metres on me in the next few hundred metres, and literally held that to the finish line. And the interesting bit here is, yes, he was in my age group, and Darren, well done, great win, mate. And there was 8 seconds difference between Darren and myself in second place for that 55 to 59 age group. So anyone that says that us old guys aren't still competitive, come and race in that age group, because the last 2 races that I've done, the last race prior to this was Kingscliff, where I did win my age group by just 6 seconds. And here we go, I've placed second in my age group to Darren by 8 seconds. So how's that, hey? You'd think it would be a minute or so, but it's not. So I'm very happy with how the race went, especially considering the type of training I've been doing for Ironman Cairns. So I had the second quickest swim in my age group, the second quickest bike in my age group, and the quickest run. And that's the second or third race now that I've had the quickest run. And historically, that's always been my weakness, is the run. And it's just highlighting to me the effectiveness of zone 2 running. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll see that nearly 80%, 85%, because I'm training for the longer course, of my running is done in that zone 2 phase. So, you know, it's nothing for me to be running at 6-minute 30, 7-minute pace and doing that for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So, and then one session a week I might go out. Well, I do go out and I do the shorter sessions. So, but I won't get too much into that here. Anyway, that was the race, Raby Bay. Once again, spectacular venue and great organisation. Well done to the Queensland Tri Series for once again providing a very safe, enjoyable event. Podium once again, so happy with that, and good to be able to share the podium with Darren and with Nick. Nick did the T100 last week, so to see him back up and do this on what would have been some tired legs and still pick up that third place is a great effort. So anyway, if you've subscribed to this video, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, you know the drill. You're more than welcome to downstairs. And until next time, stay safe out there and enjoy the process. Cheers.